This podcast is intended for an adult audience over the age of 18. It contains explicit language and sexual situations. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed belong to us and are not representative of any employer, organization, or other individual. We are not experts. This podcast is not intended to be taken as professional advice.
Welcome.
Our safe word is pineapples.
I'm Dan.
I'm Sue.
Come with us as we navigate the lifestyle,
discover kinks,
and share what we've learned along the way. Well, here it is. This is our first ever episode. Some of you might know us from reddit.com, where we go under the name of NakedFun8382. We're also on fetlife.com under Dan_Sue, my lovely wife, and we are going to just talk about ourselves at this point.
An introduction to how we got started.
Yeah, how we got started, where we're going. I've known you forever. That's it.
We have known each other forever, and it is always a bit of a shock when we talk to new people.
When we tell people
how long we've actually known each other.
Because I'm 41, and
I will be 44 soon.
You'll be 44 soon, and I tell people I've known her for 36 years.
And it's always a bit of a shock that we have known each other since we were small children.
Yeah.
Technically, we could be considered high school sweethearts. We did date briefly in high school.
I did date you briefly in high school, and it was fantastic for the 4 months or so we dated. When we broke up, had our own lives, and ended up in really bad relationships at the exact same time. And I mean, from there, we just really kind of reconnected. Right?
Reconnected, got back together. Fast-tracked into family life.
Oh, God, yeah. It was within months we had... You were pregnant with our first child. And then it just went on from there. From there, it was just normal life. And that... We're normal. We're normal people. I think we're normal for the most part.
A little on the dorky side.
That's fine. Being on the dorky side is not a big deal.
As normal as it gets. But yeah, so when we first looked at swinging was shortly after our boys were born.
Yes. Shortly after our boys were born, we were looking into swinging. For me, I've always been slightly interested in a group dynamic.
Same here.
I had a girlfriend at one point, and her friend had offered a threesome at one point, and that never materialized. I mean, that's the fantasy of all males, as far as I can tell. 2 girls at one time, and it never materialized. But from then, it really was getting into this, and I really wanted to explore this more. But I didn't have any avenues. It's not like you can just go up as a single guy and be like, "Hey, 2 girls, I want to get with both of you at the same time."
It doesn't go over well, especially, for myself in high school, always kind of miffed, and still miffed by the fact that you can't be with more than one person at a time. People get really bent out of shape if you don't want to have a heteronormative monogamous relationship. Get really bent out of shape about this, and didn't understand why relationships just couldn't include everyone.
Yeah, so for me, and I think this also goes for a lot of guys, especially guys around my age. When we were younger, especially in the high school age, when they would take us aside, we're going to take all the guys in this room and all the girls in this room, we're going to talk to the guys and we're going to talk to the girls separately. When they would bring us into that other room to talk to us separately, it was really hammered into us this whole notion of essentially you were almost like a predator in waiting, and to don't do that. Don't don't go up to women and talk about sex or talk about like wanting to be with them, and be careful of touching them. And that's, I think, what influenced a lot of me for the longest time when we dated in high school, just denying that you even wanted anything to do with me. I saw you outside of my league and I wanted you something horrible. I wanted you so bad. And I was just terrified that if I went anywhere near you and stepped out of line, then like I don't even, in my mind, I really thought that like the sexual harassment police were gonna come and get me. I did. I thought I was gonna go to jail or for like be accused of rapist or something like that. And I do believe that's something that influenced a lot of me growing up and how I was around sex. I mean, quite a lot. I didn't lose my virginity till I was 18. And there's a lot of porn. There was a lot of porn at one point.
Right, so no porn for me, except for, I mean, no visual porn. Lots of books. All
Hey,
the
you're
books.
not visual
I
at
am not
all.
visual at all. And a lot of that has to just do with how my brain is wired and like my sexuality. I don't look at people and
So you're demisexual.
I am demisexual, which the dumb explanation is that I don't have sex with strangers. I only feel sexual arousal for people that I have bonded with or have gotten to know. So when it plays out in things like I don't look at people and think, oh my God, that person's so hot, I want to fuck them. It's just not how that comes about. I do have to get to know someone. I do have to interact with them. I was very confused growing up. I did not realize right away that when people say, oh, they have a nice personality, it was actually a backhanded insult. Is that not what we want? No, it's not. Apparently people want other like physical attributes.
I mean, I'm obviously the exception to your rule because
yes,
you just always want.
I do. I can't control myself.
You
when
can't
I'm
control
around
yourself
you.
when
No,
you're around me. It's just it's a gift.
it is.
Now I'm bisexual,
Yes.
and much to the amazement of other males and other people in the lifestyle, I've known since I was about 12. It's not something that like swinging or being with other people has not caused me to become bisexual or anything like that. I've known,
We didn't have when we were in school and we were taught about bisexuality, but any sexuality, we were just openly discussing the fact that like heterosexuality, homosexuality, and oh my God, bisexuality were things. The 90s were a crazy time. It was like the beginning of safe spaces.
It was the beginning of safe spaces and stuff like that.
But like things like asexuality and demisexuality and all of
those almost didn't exist at the time.
yeah, these were not being discussed.
Not that they didn't exist. I mean, they exist, but
they existed, but they weren't being discussed
being
on like
discussed.
the
They didn't really
basis
have-
that they were being discussed now. I honestly thought there was something wrong with me.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect. I love it.
But I thought that because I didn't understand, like, people would like describe things and oh, it was, arousal's like this, or that guy is so hot. Like, how do you know?
I mean, I was confused. I wasn't really out to myself until actually fairly recently, within the last 10 years or so. But I mean, I explored with other guys and everything like that, but I just thought that was normal. Like, that's what you do. It wasn't like a crazy thing, but then I was like, am I not? I don't even know myself. I mean, I am so jealous of younger generations today where they're like, yeah, sure, I can explore this. Yeah, I'm bi. And they're like 15, 16 years old.
Well, they have more accurate definitions. They have more representation on like the internet. People can be like, hey, this is my experience.
Oh yeah,
are
representation in the 90s was not good.
No, it was not. Representation in the
What did we
90s
have?
was so bad.
Will and Grace, I think, was the closest I had.
That wasn't even. That was like, wasn't that after like high school?
I don't even remember. But
But
that's
yeah,
what's like.
but
So
yeah, no, our representation was not.
and then
not
when I
super
got
good.
with you, I tamped down on the attraction to other males a lot. I really did, because I mean that's what you did. You got with someone, and I was in a relationship with you, a very serious relationship. We had kids. We were gonna get married. We did get married. I was in no way thinking that at any point I'm gonna be. It's just something you push aside. I pushed aside even the notion of having any sort of sexual interaction with another male, because that's just not what you did. This is my wife. We have sex with each other. This is how my life goes.
Right.
And so a lot of people will ask me on like Reddit or even FetLife, they'll ask me, how did you get into this? Who suggested it? And technically, yeah, I did suggest it.
Yes, you started the conversation.
I started the conversation. That conversation was sparked by the books you gave. You gave me books to read, because I asked you. I said, do you have any books that I can read? Because we both love reading. Mm-hmm. And you gave me Robert Heinlein, and I believe it was A Stranger in a Strange Land was the first one I read.
A Stranger and a Strange Land, and then...
But that was the first one I read. And when I read that one, and the amount...
Was one of the Lazarus ones? I'm really bad at remembering titles of the books that I have. It doesn't matter,
but
the moment.
You have a lot of books. But when I read that, and I mean, for those who haven't read it, there's a lot of group sex in those books.
There's a lot of group sex in his
books. There's
books,
a lot.
Yes.
And my mind, being somewhat logical at times, said she must have at least some inkling towards a group dynamic, or else she wouldn't like these books. Because I mean, that's logical.
Yes, I can't deny that. Like,
I love horror books, but I read a horror book recently that had a lot of gore in it, and I was like, nope, not for me. I put it down. I couldn't do it. So, like, if I handed you a horror book that had a lot of gore in it, you'd be like, oh, Dan's got to be into like the gory horror or something like that. I mean, that's just logical. Point by point.
Yes. No, I would make that assumption, and I would be like, oh my God, how can you read that? Because again,
yeah, we don't read the same kinds of books.
We do not. No horror for me.
But that's what spurred me to ask you to talk to you for the first time about the possibility of anything being with other people or any sort of group sex. And of course, I mean, I was the dumbass, right off the bat, be like, we could get another woman. And
yes, you did. You came at, well, because... So I think because of our own mistakes, we really do try to, when like people talk to us, we try to encourage them to not make the same mistakes.
But at the same time, we also do tell them that like you're gonna make mistakes.
Yes,
it's okay.
It's okay.
That's how you learn. That's how you grow.
Yes, that's how you learn. That's how you grow as a person. Like mistakes are allowed. Failure is always an option. But it was a hard conversation because you did bring out things like I had more sexual partners than you.
It was the classic. I really was going for that unintentionally, because it's whenever someone talks, and I've talked to a number of people who are trying to get into the lifestyle, mostly men, but it's a hard conversation to have. You're taking this person that you love, hopefully you love them unconditionally, and you're saying to them, it feels like, it's not necessarily what it is, but it feels like I'm not totally satisfied with you, I'd like to have other people. That's not exactly what it is. That's not what it is. No, but that's what it feels like. Even when you're bringing it out, is you're trying to get past that to like, it's not that I love you and I am fully satisfied with you. If
Yes.
swinging went away tomorrow, I would still be fully satisfied with you, because what we have as a couple, in my opinion, and what I glean from a number of people we've talked to who have successful non-monogamous relationships, is that what we have as a couple is different. We have the love, the bond. This is our lives. This is who we are. This is who I
Yes.
love unconditionally. With other people, we're having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And then
it's a very erotic hobby.
it's it is an erotic hobby. Yes, it is a very erotic hobby. And it also, it helps that, the people that we do choose to bring into our lives, we do form friendships with them, but it's a different relationship. It's not as intimate as the relationship that we have with each other.
I can go to you with
seeing us.
They do see us in some of our bad moments, because we have vacationed with people, and
but they're not seeing it as like our most vulnerable all the time.
No, and they're also not seeing us at our worst, because whenever you're with people, even with friends, you try to hide aspects of who you are and what you're going through.
You're not letting
and stuff
everybody
like that.
in 100%, but we are 100% in with each other.
100%, baby. You are everything to me. But no, so I started the conversation. I did start the conversation, and you were not fully on board for a while. You were not fully on board. It was a long conversation. It was a lot of conversations. It was back and forth, and
for a while, yeah, we didn't jump right in, and when we did discuss the fact that I'm not fully comfortable with the whole 2 women, 1 guy situation.
No, and that's fine. At the time, it was not, because I was a selfish jerk. I really was. I was a selfish jerk. It's really, I was going off of fantasies that I had based on the porn that I was watching at the time. And some of that porn was based on this is what you're supposed to be watching. As a guy, you're supposed to be watching this. You're supposed to be getting aroused by 2 guys, or 2 girls and 1 guy. But as we've gone through this, I've realized that while that is arousing, it's not super arousing. It's not something I need to have. And that's a lot that's come from, we've gone from, threesomes to couple swaps and everything like that.
Right. And we, but and through the conversations, we did figure out what was going to be our comfortable starting point, which was a threesome with another guy.
It was, which, let me tell you, being bisexual, I was so nervous and so excited, but nervous. It was excited was over here, but nervous was right here.
Right.
It was
right
here.
It was a heterosexual male that we were talking to. That's definitely part of it. But yeah, and we'd also and through the conversations, and especially one of the reasons why we chose to start with this, because you were but you were aware of the fact that you do enjoy watching, even at that point.
I was aware. Maybe. So I do love watching you. I love watching you. I love filming you. Again, for those who know us from Reddit and even FetLife, you will know that I do enjoy watching and filming you, but I also really enjoy joining as well.
Yes.
That watching and filming for me is kind of like a foreplay.
Mm-hmm.
That builds up into
joining.
Which is fun.
But you were already kind of aware at that point that
I was kind of aware that I wanted
watching
to watch, but I also at that point I wanted to watch all of us, and I had no idea how we can do that.
Right.
I mean, I was in my mind. I was like, we're gonna have to find places with giant mirrors and stuff.
We see every angle. Whereas I was very much aware of the fact, and I'm still very much aware of the fact that I don't like to share. I am incredibly possessive of what I consider
selfish bitch.
I am a selfish bitch. Yes, my stuff is mine, and I don't want to share. Other people don't take as good care of my things as I think they should, and and I don't appreciate that. But these are things that we have worked through.
I take care of me, but I also take care of you. That's one thing
And
that we've really worked on.
Yes. But we've also, we work to find people, like the people that we play with now, I think.
Oh, God.
Appreciate and take care of what's mine.
Listen, the beginnings for a lot of people when they start off are rough.
They can be.
They are rough.
They can be.
There is so much out there, so much misinformation, so much not bad information, but we'll say old information, like how things used to go, and
stereotypical
stuff.
It's so it can be very black and white, and like sex is not black and white.
I mean, for instance, our first threesome ever was with essentially a mutual friend, and
yes,
in some of these subreddits, in these comment sections, there's so many people that right off the bat, no, don't ever go with friends. Do not fuck your friends at all, because it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a nightmare, and you're going to ruin the friendship, and that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be.
Right. And unfortunately, it doesn't work when you're demisexual, because the only people we want to fuck are our friends.
Yes.
That's how we develop that attraction and those bonds.
I'm not. But on the flip side, I do not feel comfortable at all. Like we have so many people, even over the years, even when we first started, that we want to meet up now, tonight.
Yeah, no.
I don't know who you are. I've never met you. I've never even... And that's just not...
Sight unseen?
I can't do that.
No, I can't do that at all.
I mean, it also doesn't help that you and I don't drink. We're not drinkers, so I'm not going to go out to a bar.
So yes,
and get drinks with you,
and that's like the stereotypical like standard. We're gonna meet at the bar for some drinks, and then we're gonna go have some fun once we're all like loosened up and relaxed. Well, I don't want to have like sex drunk. And
through my past, you and I have both dealt with alcoholics in our past, and we've not only dealt with alcoholics, we've dealt with alcoholics and cleaning up after alcoholics and taking care of alcoholics. And I'm not saying that the people who want to go out and get drinks are alcoholics. I'm saying that I don't want to put myself or you in a situation where someone may not be sober enough to, one, for consent reasons, and two, I don't want to clean up a mess. I don't like being around people who are drunk.
No, it makes me very uneasy. So
I don't want to fuck someone who's drunk. It's not something that even appeals to me in any way, shape, or form.
It's not. It can be very upsetting for me to be around guys who are very obviously inebriated. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant for me, and it definitely takes away from what we're hoping is going to happen. So we don't play with people who are insistent that like they have to have something.
I don't mind one or two drinks. It doesn't bother me.
No.
Like, we've met a number of people who go, I want to have one or two drinks just to loosen up, and that's fine.
That's fine.
But it's when that one or two drinks turns into 3 or 4, and then like 5 or 6.
They're staggering.
They're staggering. They're slurring their speech or something like that, and that's when I put the kibosh on that. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing goes for drug use. Like I don't mind people who smoke pot, and that doesn't bother me. my best friend smokes pot. He's fine. But what's a weird trend now is some of the older people I've seen in the swinging community are getting into cocaine, and no, 100%
okay.
no.
That's definitely not okay.
I will never be with anyone who I know has taken cocaine or anything like that. It's just not something that's going to appeal to me in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, so like those conversations with you they kind of snowballed into our first time, and it was a lot of fantasy back and forth, and it was a lot of talking back and forth, and the fantasy was there, and it was, we did talk about during sex and everything like that, and it was hot and all that stuff. But then comes the logistics, like how do we go about this? I mean, I didn't know about websites. I didn't know at the time there really wasn't apps out there. There's so many more apps out there now.
No, there wasn't apps at all.
That's right, there wasn't apps at all.
There were no apps.
I mean, this was like mid 2000s.
This was
before 2010. It's long before 2010.
You still had to run through the numbers to get to the letters in order to send a text message. There were no apps.
That's in this world. Yeah, so there was no apps. I didn't even know about. I didn't know it was called swinging. I had no idea it was called swinging.
No, we didn't know there was a whole.
So I couldn't even search it. I couldn't even go online to search it to find out what it was. So we went from, this is hot, maybe we should do this, to then not just how do we do it, but we also had 3 kids at the time. We had 3 small kids at the time.
Yes, we did. We had 3 small children.
How do we go about it while also dealing with the fact that we have kids? I mean, if we're going somewhere, we have to get babysitters, and who do we know? And then what do we tell them? Like, what do we tell the babysitter? We're going to go out. Well, if they ask where you're going,
yeah,
those kinds of questions were coming up in our minds, and it was a lot that we had to process. Because it is. I mean, there's a juggling act. We are not. I mean, if you see us elsewhere online, Reddit and FetLife, if you see us on there, we are not hidden. We're not hiding in the shadows. We're not. We are discreet in the fact that we're not shouting it from the rooftops.
Right. We're not telling everybody we meet.
We're not introducing ourselves as, hi, we're Dan and Sue. We're swingers,
Right?
We have sex with other people besides each other. Did you know that? Just in case.
We get into all the kinky stuff.
We also, one thing that comes up, and please, if anyone who has seen us or wants to contact us in any way other than this, we don't talk to our kids about our sex life at all. So
no. Right, yeah, no more than
normal. Like, we do talk to them about sex in general, but we don't go into details. No,
they don't want to know about their parents.
No, we don't go into detail about what's going on in our sex life.
We talk to them about things they need to know as far as sexual health. They don't need to know about our activities.
They don't need to know that mom was in a gangbang last year or something.
The trauma.
I think the trauma not just on them but us as well. I think I would be traumatized.
Those are not appropriate conversations. Nobody wants that.
No.
Nobody wants that. I mean, good Lord. And to be honest, our parents definitely shaped how we handle sexual conversations with our kids.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. We had terrible. You had too much information. I had
way
none.
Too much information and you had none.
I had none. The most I have was, don't do it when your mom's home. That's... Thanks. Right. It doesn't really help me in any way, shape, or form.
My mom provided valuable information. Frequently, it would be when she was providing
in the most inappropriate moments at
randomly.
Think of randomly.
Just randomly.
In the grocery store.
In the grocery store. Just...
You don't want to talk about anal in the grocery store? I mean, who doesn't? With their mom. With their mom.
With their mom.
That's the thing. So that's what we had to deal with in the beginning. Is we had to deal with a balance of our personal life, being a married couple with kids, and I was in school at the time. You had almost a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
With well, now we want to go and have a social life. It doesn't help that we're not anti-social, but we are not very social people either. We don't go to parties. We don't have parties. We don't.
No, we don't. We don't.
We're not
gravitate
clubbing
to
or
the
anything like that.
standard, like socialization.
So that was the other thing. Like,
situations.
how do we find someone else
Right.
when we don't?
When we're not out there.
We're not out there. So that's when we went into who do we have for our first time, and we decided together mutually we should go with someone we know, because for us, again, that whole comfort level,
Yeah.
I have to be comfortable with the person, you have to be
I
comfortable
have
with
to
the
be
person,
comfortable with the person.
and we ended up, so there was a friend I had in college who actually was also one of my best men at our wedding. And he was a mutual friend. He was one that you had known and talked to, and we had kind of hung out a little bit. But I knew him a little bit more in college because we were in theater together. And when guys talk, we talk about sex and stuff like that all the time. And yet you came up because we talk about sex. Who am I talking about sex with? I have sex with you. So that's how these conversations came up. And
Yes.
it came about that, he was obviously attracted to you. He thought you were hot and sexy and everything like that. And some raunchy discussions did happen, backstage. So when we were, I don't know if we were tossing out names. We didn't know that many people, to go by at the time.
No,
so
we didn't know that many. We were tossing out names. I wasn't really tossing out any names. You were.
You are less social than I am. So.
I am not. I am.
So I suggested, I was like, well, what about him?
Yes.
I know him. I know he thinks you're attractive. What do you think about him? How do you feel about him? And you were like, well, he's kind of hot. I would be down.
Right. Well,
for that.
We talked to him a couple of times before we even started scheduling stuff.
One of the other bonuses about him, which for us was a bonus, was he lived 2 hours away from us.
Right. Other side of the state.
So in our minds, logically, if it all went to hell, if it went tits up,
we weren't running into each other at the grocery store.
It's not going to, later on, there's not going to be that awkward, like, hi, how's it going? Yay, how are you doing? So we finally, after some discussions with him, we nailed it down. We're going to be in your town. We booked a hotel. We're going to be in your town on this weekend. I know you're free that weekend, so
yep.
Why don't we get together and do this? And he was down for that.
Yeah.
He was down for that. So then we also by doing that, we had an excuse. We had to build an excuse for it ended up being my parents who watched the kids.
Yes.
Yes. But we had to build an excuse for that because I was able to turn to them and go, Sue and I are going away for the weekend as a couple. We're going to go away for the weekend as a couple. We're going to have just a time for ourselves because, kids and everything like that,
yeah.
They really run you ragged. So we're going to get relaxing and have some time. And that was our excuse. It was an excuse and an actual reason anyway. We were doing it anyway because even at that point, up to that point, we were not sure it was even going to happen. We weren't even sure until he came to the door.
Because he had actually flaked out a couple times on us.
He did. The only reason he got a pass was because he was a friend of ours and we knew him.
Right, and we had talked to him.
And we had talked to him
through what was
why
going
he was
on
flaking
and
out.
why he was flaking out.
Well, he was nervous too. He had never done anything like that before either. So
yeah, it was all new.
It was new to everyone.
To everyone.
So I remember driving there, And we got this hotel, and it was a nice hotel room. I mean, it really was. And it had a big mirror. It was like, wait, we had a giant mirror in the room. It was across from the bed. Score! So then he showed up. And I said like, I don't know how this. No, it's one of those things, and it happens even now. It's like, so how do we start? Like, we all know what we're here for.
Yes.
How do we start? Because no one wants to be the first one that's stripping naked.
Though to be, I was just going to say, like, at this point, like, as far, like, we have gotten to the point where I'm generally the first one out of my clothes. I know how to get started.
You know how to get started. But at this point, I mean, for our first time, neither of us knew what to do. We were just...
So we had discussed it beforehand, and we were like, oh, well, you know, he and I will shower together.
Well, he was telling us he was coming from something and he hadn't showered. And I was like, oh.
Right.
Why don't you go shower with him? And I'll get the room ready. Which I still, to this day, have no idea what the hell that meant.
I didn't know what it meant either, but I was just like, okay.
I turned the bed down. I like double checked the condoms and like that's about it. And I was shaking the whole time doing this. I was shaking. Like I had no idea. And this goes into some of the advice I give people that are coming into it is you have to be prepared. There's always that possibility of jealousy. It's always going to come in.
Yes.
First, when you first start this off, I'm sharing my wife with another man. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I do have insecurity issues. I've worked through them a lot throughout the years, but at the time they were much worse. And I mean, I was always constantly thinking that you were going to leave me for someone else. Because in my mind, you were, and you still are, like out of my league. You were still, but at the time I was constantly thinking this, and I said, what do I do? What do I do if I get jealous? Because, you know, how do I handle this? And we also didn't know at the time that, you know, anyone can say no, and you have to stop it. Like that was not something that because it's not like there was any sort of.
It seems so obvious.
It seems so obvious now.
Can stop at any time.
Yeah, now it's obvious.
You can always say no, but it does feel something when you get started in these things. You're like, and you're making these plans. It does feel like you're obligated to take part, to perform, to do what you said you were going to do.
Well, that's another reason why, like, we went with someone we knew because. Hindsight and knowing him, also knowing who him from other avenues, I know I didn't know, but I instinctually knew that if it wasn't going right, we would all be able to stop.
Right, nobody would feel,
and no one would feel cheated or like feel hurt or anything like that. So like you went into the bathroom and you were showering. And I'm nervous. I'm nervously, mating the room up here. Like, fucking, I don't even know. And I'm pacing, and I didn't know what I'm supposed to do. And I was like, okay, so how do I handle this? I might be getting jealous. I don't know if I'm getting jealous. I have no idea what's going on. There's a lot of emotions are running through my mind at like a rapid pace, a massively rapid pace. And I noticed that the door to the bathroom was cracked open. Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm curious. And it seems humorous to me today because I love watching. I enjoy watching. But I was honestly unsure of going over there because I was like, I don't want to violate them. Spy on them.
I had already kind of like assumed that you would be watching.
I didn't know this. We didn't talk about that part at all. So I noticed the door was cracked, and I go over and I can see the mirror, and the mirror is facing the shower. Mm-hmm. And I look in and I see you on your knees blowing him, and I immediately get in the reaction. I was like, this is going to work. we're good. We're good to go from here. And it was a fantastic threesome. Like, we had a lot of fun.
We had a really good time.
We had a great time, and he was awesome. And then we hung out afterwards for a little bit. I think we got food too. And then he left. He had to leave. He had to go back to his house after that. And then we had the rest of the day to process. And we did process. And that's when that time, we started just what we do now is just the constant communication. We started talking afterwards about what had happened and how everything was going and everything.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah. It's super important.
Yeah, but again, we didn't know this at the time. This isn't
Right.
that was
yeah.
when we started, and when a lot of people are starting now, they're searching for someone to help them out. But at the time, there was no one.
No, and we
Like
didn't.
the
We
internet
didn't
was
know
a
what we
wild west at the time for
It
us when it came
was.
to this.
It
I had
so
no idea
was.
we didn't have any friends we knew in this or anything like that.
could, right?
So we couldn't
Google
talk to
wasn't what it
anyone.
was now.
I was still searching on Yahoo at the time. So I mean, there is that Yahoo and AOL. I think I was still searching for stuff at the time. So that was a good time, and we came home. We were elated.
Yeah.
We were having a blast. And I remember that next day, you were with the kids cleaning rooms or something like that. And I
Most
was
likely.
talking to my best friend, just talking about stuff and talking about what had happened, because I talked to him about everything. We talked about everything.
Yes.
We still talk about everything.
Yes.
And he was, that's super hot. He's like, oh, I wish I could do something like that, with someone like that's super hot. And my mind went to you. I said, so Sue,
Mm-hmm.
my best friend.
I
We've only been
do.
friends for like 20 years.
Right.
My best friend. I think at that time it was like 15 years we had been friends, right?
Right.
And I said, you really enjoyed last night with the other guy. And you're like, yeah. I was like, would you want to do it again? And you were like, yes, I absolutely would like to do it again. And I was like, how about with my best friend? And at the time, it took you a pause. You paused.
Well,
For some time.
There is some history there.
There is.
So
Some
I did have
history.
to pause. And
You knew him better than the other guy.
I did know him better than the other guy. I knew him better than the other guy because he had dated my sister.
There was that too.
So there's that part of your brain that goes, oh, that's my sister's ex.
Yeah, but your sister's ex from like almost 10 years prior. So at this point, so it
I
was
know.
ex, it was,
But yeah.
But you were like, when? When would this,
Right,
when would
when
this
are we
happen?
thinking?
And I sent him a text at the time. So it took me about 15 minutes with my flip phone to send him a text when, and when were you thinking? And he sent back, how about tonight? Are you available tonight? And I was like, can we do tonight or something like that? And it was getting late in the evening anyway. It was about like 7-8 o'clock at that time when I was talking to him. And you said, well, it was about 7 o'clock, and you were like, yeah, we can probably do tonight or something like that.
Right.
And I said, yeah, we can. He's like, I'll be there in an hour. Excuse me. And yeah, from there, we had another threesome that next night, and that one went just as well.
It did go just as well.
We had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really lot of fun, and he actually became a regular for a long time, up until fairly recently. He was in a monogamous relationship with someone, and we, that's a boundary. We respect all boundaries. So when someone's in a monogamous relationship, I don't care if you're a prior playmate of ours.
No, we're going to respect
I respect that relationship. That's a relationship I respect. You're a monogamous relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
He's still my best friend, and I love him to death. He is. It's funny because he was another one of my groomsmen. So I like to joke that you slept with 2/3 of my groomsmen.
Right? It'll only ever be.
No, because the other one was my brother,
And that's not going to happen.
That's never going to happen.
That's a line we're not crossing.
I wouldn't want you to cross that one either.
No.
I don't want to be in that situation.
No. That's a no.
I think I would disown you if you slept with my brother. Because I would assume there was something severely wrong with you if that ever happened. She's lost it. I need to commit her somewhere. She needs to go to the hospital. She maybe had some sort of mental break.
It's a valid concern.
So yeah, that's essentially our introduction into the lifestyle. That's how we started.
That is how we started.
From there,
it was a good start.
It was a good start, and from there it went on to more. And
right,
we'll get into.
We had some ups and we had some downs.
We'll get into those more in some of the later episodes as we go on. But I think it's a good place to stop for here, and we can go into more next time.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully, we'll have you guys listen in next time. Hey everyone, thanks for coming along with us on our journey. We really enjoy talking to anyone who's interested in this topic. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, don't forget to rate us and give us a good review. Also, tell your friends, tell anyone you think might be interested. It really helps us out and helps this podcast grow. As always, we appreciate you.